So, I've been talking about this whole thing around downtime, how I don't feel like I have any time anymore. And, like, I don't ever have, like, I'm not writing as much as I used to, music and stuff. And, like, I just feel like I'm always doing, you know what I mean? And you and I have talked about the idea of solitude and how we're never alone anymore.
Right.
And so, like, I've just been looking at that all semester. And here's a couple things that I found, just to give you some background.
Okay.
This is not just me. This is a sociological phenomenon. Most people say they have less downtime than they used to. Many people blame technology. Almost all of the stuff that I uncovered in some way relates to we're always on our devices. So I didn't want to say it was just that,
Right.
but I ended up spending some time researching how our devices affect our time.
Okay.
On the other hand, another thing that I saw was that we've always had distractions. Even before technology, we've always feared the new. Like, I found some really fun articles about how, like, tractors were, like, or, like, telephones freaked people out.
Henry David Thoreau was concerned about the train, that we would be moving at a speed that was not human, and it would just mess everything up, and the whole world was going to come to an end because of trains.
So everyone's always, my last paper kind of talked about how, sure, yeah, we're changing, but maybe we don't need to be so panicked about that change.
It's not the end of the world.
Yes, probably our relationship with downtime and our time in general is changing. Our relationship to connection is changing. But maybe that's not the end of the world. Maybe it's just another change, and we survive them. And
because we always survive changes.
We evolve, we adapt, we even thrive. So maybe we don't have to worry about it so much.
Okay.
But with that said, through all of this work, I think I want more balance for me.
Okay.
Right? Moving away from technology altogether might not be possible for me or beneficial, but that's a part of it for me, the technology thing. So, like, as I'm doing my self-proposal, that's what this is about, not what you should do, what I should do.
Okay.
As I'm doing my self-proposal, I want to think, what do I want to do based on all the things I've learned this semester?
Okay.
I don't want to just cut myself off. I don't want to do the Henry David Thoreau thing.
Go live in the woods.
Go live in the woods. In fact, like, I was talking to Dina about this, and she was saying how, like, she would be more distracted not being plugged in than being plugged in at this point, because, like, what if someone was trying to reach her? What if
her mind would be, like, not focused and not clear. She feels security knowing that if someone needs to get in touch with her, they can.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's interesting. So, like, and I kind of see that, like, and this just happened to me. Like, one of the first things I've done, you'll see this in a minute, was I took all my social media off of my phone.
Yeah.
And then, like, a week into that experiment, I went to my computer in my office and looked at Facebook for the first time in 2 weeks and saw that one of my good friends from back east died.
Yeah.
And, like, I wouldn't have known that otherwise. So, like, I don't want to be
not
part of the world.
Right.
But I do want to change my relationship. So here's what I think.
Okay.
And then maybe you can offer me some ideas.
Right. Okay.
First of all, my thinking. I want to change my thinking about certain things. I can do some of that stuff immediately. Like, I can think about abundance rather than scarcity. I have enough time. I can have solitude if I choose it. I think it's a victim mentality for me to say, I don't have any time. It's a matter of what I choose. Right?
Right.
I can change how I think about my time. I have choices. I'm in control of it, Yes, there are addictive things about, and that's why I got rid of the stuff on my phone, but
so
I'm in control.
You were sort of addicted to it.
Yeah. Like,
and you're going to control how you get to it. Like, I have to get to the computer before I can log on and check it. So it's not that you're not having it at all. You're moderating how much you have.
Yeah, right. Okay. And if it's truly an addiction, you can't moderate addiction.
We'll
see how that goes. Stay tuned. I'll let you know how that goes. Be patient with myself. If I can't, like, meditate and sit quietly for an hour a day, that doesn't mean I can't, like, just sit and have my coffee in the morning for 10 minutes.
Yep. There's a two-hand movement. There's a when you drink your coffee, drink it like this.
I'm gonna put that in my paper.
Right. So then you can't get the phone.
That's
right.
Brilliant.
You have to be with
your
cup, right? Or with the people around you or whatever, but you're present with this
it.
Instead of, like, doing all these other things.
Beautiful. I love that. Okay, good. Be willing to accept that I do have commitments, right? Like, so I'm not going to be able to just be like, oh, I'm just going to, like, walk about, right?
Right.
Like, I'm not just going to wander into the woods behind my house. I have a wife, I have a family. Like, at 5:45 my day starts, I'm feeding people, I'm feeding dogs. And then I go to work, and then I work, and then I come home, I feed people, I feed dogs, and then I'm busy, I'm grading papers until I go to bed. Like, so it's not like that stuff's going to go away, right? I'm in the working years. That's what we do, right? So, like, I have to work within that. I can't fight that. I can't be like, well, I'm just going to pretend. So I have to accept that I have
You can still find those
commitments.
moments of solitude, like within those things, right? Like while you're fixing breakfast and feeding people, you don't have to be doing that and on your phone. Or like, I don't have to be eating so I've been standing up in the kitchen, eating my breakfast, drinking my tea, I'm chatting with my wife, I've got my phone, I'm like, while I'm chatting with her, how are you this morning, blah, blah, blah. I'm also scrolling through Instagram over on this side, and I've got my coffee over here, and I'm trying to fix my lunch. Like, there's no time to be here and just
Very good. Be here now, right? Like the old
just
Baba
be here
Ram
now.
Dass or whatever.
Yeah.
So be here now. Do one thing at a time. I just wrote myself a note.
The whole Sherry Turkle unitasking instead of multitasking. Unitasking is the new multitasking or something like that.
Cool. I love that. So that's my thinking. And then I have some actions I want to do. Some I can do right away. Some I have to do like in the future, soonish, and then other ones maybe far down the road. Remove all social media from my mobile devices. I already did that immediately. Make solitude goals, like 10 minutes a day unplugged. Make a personal standard. As soon as I am speaking to someone, as soon as someone I'm speaking to is talking, my phone doesn't exist. Like I want to make a standard about my own behavior around that.
Because we know that affects the quality of the conversation we have with somebody. That if my phone is here or there, like you're not going to tell me anything important or meaningful or like important about yourself, because you will know that we could jump out of this conversation at any moment and attend to our phones.
Just happened to me this morning. Just saying. So, and I know how it feels, so I don't want to do that. And also, it's the one thing at a time thing.
Right.
Also, maybe I'll look for like an app, like Headspace or whatever. Like, like use the phone to fight
to fight the phone.
Right.
The master's tools to...
Yes. Occasionally drive without the radio. Stop using my phone in my car. Make a commitment to do creative things. I did that over winter break. I wrote like a bunch of songs. Like make a commitment regularly to do creative things. And that requires full focus for me. So I can't be in so many places at once.
My students have been doing solitude experiments now for probably 2.5 years in my 121 classes. And one of the times that they say is the easiest for them to find solitude is when they're driving and to turn off the radio, even though that feels weird for them, and to be alone with their thoughts. Because I think they're occupied enough with the driving that they're not really thinking, they're not dwelling on negative, bad stuff. They're just kind of alone with their thoughts. But they have to, then they go through all the planning and the things they have to do and the checklists. They're not actually with themselves. They're still caught up in like the busyness of the day.
But that's okay, right?
That's okay. So you got to get that out of the way.
The busyness of the day stuff is actually a part of creative thought.
Daydreaming is so important. Right. Daydreaming is so important.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So soonish, I want to go on unplugged trips. I want to spend at least an hour a day unplugged and outside. Maybe this summer I can work on that. I want to paint some pictures this summer, and I want to write 6 songs, and I want to create outdoor fitness goals.
Yay!
I want to read 5 books this summer, even just on audiobooks. I'm reading some Ian McEwan books right now on audio, and they're fabulous.
Cool.
And I want to start journaling. Those are my soonish goals around, like just having more presence and being aware of more downtime.
I like it.
Later on, I want to wean myself off social media entirely. Like this Cambridge Analytica thing freaked me out. I'm thinking maybe I don't need it. Facebook is plummeting anyway. I might get a dumb phone. There's
like a whole movement of like,
phone too.
I got a flip phone again or something.
Yeah, but this is actually like a nice, elegant. It looks like a regular modern
real phone,
except it's got minimal functions. Cool things like GPS and Uber and whatnot, but really not like you can't like load apps on
It's like those writing tools that they have where you can download something on your computer that will prevent you from doing anything but writing. That's the only thing you're allowed to do. It will not let you access the other parts of your computer. So maybe there's something like, maybe that's what the phone thing is doing. Because now, of course, I could just pick up my phone instead.
Awesome.
I like that.
I also want to accept some level of plugged in life. Right? Like I said, I'm not gonna pretend. I'm not going to put my head in the sand and pretend that I don't live in 2018. I have some advantages and disadvantages listed here, but do you have any other ideas for me?
Oh my gosh. Not at the moment, because you've got like this huge list of all these things that I know are really meaningful and important to you that clearly you want to have time to do. I like the idea of travel without technology, kind of solo unplugged travel. I think that's really cool because it reminds me of because we both remember life before the internet, before we had phones that did all this stuff. And those were some of the things that I loved the most, were just going off. And that's when my mind really starts cooking. Like if I'm driving for 20 minutes, all I'm doing is thinking about what I have to do later today. And if I'm driving for 45 minutes, I might start thinking other things. But once I've been driving for 2 hours on my trip, or once I'm in the air for 2 hours, then I start thinking of story ideas, and I start thinking creatively, and my mind starts sort of wandering, and you start thinking about who you are and the meaning of life and all the stuff that you don't have time to do if you are standing up, eating your breakfast, chatting and texting and grabbing your phone. Like, you don't have any time to figure out who you are. Like, I just read this article about daydreaming and how it helps us do autobiographical planning and memory consolidation. It helps us have empathy. It does like all this amazing stuff, plus all the creative thinking that we know it leads to. So I just want more time to daydream. My approach to this, which is not related to your thing, is that I'm going to intentionally enforce my no cell phones in class policy, because students grab their phones when they're bored. Instead of them grabbing their phones when they're bored, I want them to be bored, knowing that they're going to be bored, because when you're bored, that's when you have this moment. There's this precious moment my students can have in class where they can be bored and daydream and have all those things in their mind, is forced to go do that stuff because they have no recourse to any of the other things. So I'm going to force my students to do it.
Makes me think of my kids. Like, maybe there's part of this that I can't force my kids to do anything. I mean, honestly, it always backfires. It's like the opposite. If I tell my kids, then they just want it more. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but maybe there's something in here around like passing on like a model, role model, whatever. Like, even if I don't say you can't use your phone, maybe I can just live by example, and maybe that makes more of a.
Maybe it's while we're talking to each other, we don't have our phones or something, or maybe they already do that. But maybe it's something simple like that's just what our family does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good luck with that. Yeah. But modeling it is good, right? Like maybe even modeling it and like narrating what you're doing. Like, oh, I'm going to set my phone down right now because I want to be present with you and I really want to listen to what you have to say. So it's not like you're just putting your phone down, but you're actually naming what you're doing. So they're like, oh, he's doing that for a reason. Maybe I could do that. Yeah, that's what that's about. Perfect. Making it explicit.
Okay. So hopefully this gives you an idea of what we're looking for. That's what you're going to do when you do your presentations. Enjoy.